Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. In this episode, we discuss Ayurveda as we're joined by Kimberly Rossi, who is the director of the Art of Wellness Retreat Center in the States. We focus on how Ayurveda can help bring us back to balance and why balance is important, especially in our modern day lives. We also discuss and focus on the topic of purpose and what Ayurveda, this ancient wisdom, this timeless wisdom, says about purpose. So without further ado, if this is something that you want to dive into today, balance and purpose, and this is the episode for you, let's hop on over into my conversation with Kimberly Rossi. Kim, welcome to Raising Consciousness. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, Lou. Thanks so much for the invite.
You're welcome. I came across your amazing work that you're doing, and really wanted to have you on the show. So I'd love to start off this episode by talking about the work that you do. You are the director of wellness, I believe, at Art of Living Retreat Center. That's all centered around the ancient wisdom, the timeless wisdom of Ayurveda. We've covered the topic of Ayurveda a few times recently on the podcast as I'm coming across this. Yeah, as I referred to it, it's just kind of like ancient wisdom, timeless wisdom, etc. But I would love to know, one, like how you discovered it, like what's your journey to, discovering this practice, and then two, how you implement it at your retreat center. But if we start off with a bit of context for the audience, your journey into it, and then we'll love to dive a bit more into your work.
So I stumbled across yoga and meditation and pranayama breathing in my 20s. My highs were really high and my lows were really low, and I was looking for balance. And fortunately, I ended up in a month-long yoga teacher training in the US, and had an amazing experience and received what I was looking for, and was also taught that the best teachers have the deepest have a deep practice. And so I dove deep, and Ayurveda is yoga's sister science. And I did a couple other month-long yoga teacher trainings, but ended up about maybe 5 years later in Ayurveda school, again searching for greater health and well-being physically, mentally, and emotionally, and really embraced the practice, and used every aspect of it for everything and anything you can imagine. And I think that has brought me to the great pleasure of being at a center to teach Ayurveda, yoga, sister science, breathing, meditation, yoga, for a beautiful retreat center on top of a mountain in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. The closest airport is Charlotte. And you can check us out more at aolrc.org. We have some of the best luminaries in wellness come and share their knowledge. We have our own yoga teacher trainings and our own courses for breathing and meditation and Ayurveda wellness. I think, and probably one of the best in the country. We've been here about 12 years. So it's a great pleasure to be able to share this knowledge, because I feel like it really works.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if someone was coming to your center, what would like the average day or few days or weekend or week look like as they dive into and learn more about Ayurveda at your center? What does the average kind of day look like?
So you could come and just dip your toes in and kind of test the waters, or you can, come up to your waist where you can dive in. We people sort of where they're at. And our R&R program is a great way to get a taste. We do some Ayurveda cooking classes and knowledge sessions for gut health. In introduction to Ayurveda, we have Ayurveda treatments and Ayurveda spa. And you can just do as much or as little as you want. You would like yoga and meditation, breath work, throw it sprinkled in there. Or you can come and be in a course to learn a technique to take home with you. I'm a retreat goer, and what I like about retreat is that you go, you have an experience that's transformational, but you get to take home a tool, to use, to get, to have greater health and well-being. So you can, sort of come into your onto your ways, or you can really dive in and go deep and learn breathing techniques and meditation, or breathing techniques and go into silence. If you're feeling like you need to really withdraw the senses from outside and bring them in and sit quietly and go a little bit deeper. So there's as much or as little as one needs.
I love that. I love the tools, having being able to leave a center or leave a retreat with having the tools to continue. When we're in our day-to-day life, I think one of the kind of challenges kind of outside of practices like Ayurveda is that from my experience, like more so within traditional medicine, maybe, you like go to a doctor or something and they would just give you a pill or just give you something, and you'd go home and you wouldn't necessarily, like, you just take this thing, right? Like, you wouldn't necessarily have the tools to be able to heal over the long term, where I think with lifestyle practices, that's kind of how I see practices like Ayurveda, is that you have all these different tools, right? So you have breath work, you have meditation, yoga, that you can draw upon um, in your everyday life, like when sometimes the going does get tough, right? And so I love that we're able to implement this in a way into our day-to-day life. Do you have any like quick thoughts on that, or anything to add to that?
Yeah, I really do. We need Western medicine, and their training is to look at our symptoms and prescribe medication, as you mentioned. And the beauty about Ayurveda is that it's going to look for the root cause. Why is this symptom manifesting? And it goes deeper than the physical body. We assess your mind, the mental body, your heart, your emotional body, your spiritual body, your past, your digestion, your elimination, your present, how you rise, when you sleep, what do you do for exercise, what do you eat, in great detail, to uncover the imbalance. And then we use right foods. So it's more than diet. It is what we're eating, how much we're eating, when we're eating, what we're doing while we're eating, and how the food is cooked. So there's so many aspects. When we just say diet, Ayurveda assesses all of those things. And we know food can cure us, or it can bring us out of balance. So big focus on diet, a big focus on lifestyle, the Ayurvedic daily routine. How are we merging our daily cycle with nature? Are we going in accordance with nature, or are we, moving away, going against nature? So we want to merge our daily cycle with nature. Stress management. Stress is inevitable. We cannot control it. But it's so important to know that your mind is your servant and not your master, and that it is part of our human experience to have all of the facets of feelings and anxiety and depression and happiness and bliss and joy. We need them all. And so when we're in an uncomfortable space, how are we able to manage our mind? And there's tools to help us to do this. And then herbs. We use a lot of herbs in cooking. We use and we take a lot of herbs. And so if you are on a Western approach to your health, we can join forces and we could get greater results. Or if you haven't joined that Western path and you're a little bit, wanting to perhaps try other things before going that route, Ayurveda is a great way to really learn what's going on. And then, if you try some things, everyone's approach is different. Personally, I like to try everything that I possibly can before taking medicine. Um, and, that would be sort of my personal last resort. I feel like, and I really feel strongly about this, that each one of us has the power to heal ourselves, that we have more power to bring ourselves in balance than we know that we're taught that anyone tells us. So we also have great power to bring ourselves out of balance. Ayurveda says 90% of the imbalances that each one of us is sitting here with, if we're out of health or we're out of happiness, we could really look and see that it is from our choice. 90%, 10% were predisposed genetically, but we know our DNA is changing and we don't need to buy in to, oh, my ancestor, my mom had this, my grandma had this, my great grandma had this. So I have it. 10% is predisposed genetically, but we can change our DNA. It's not fixed. We can change it. So it's important, I feel, to share that we all have so much power to heal and cure ourselves through right diet, lifestyle, stress management, exercise, and herbs.
So from my perspective, it seems like a lot of people don't believe that, basically. Like, they don't believe they have the power to heal. They don't believe they have the power over their health. Do you um like can you also not see, yeah, can you also see that, and what would your advice kind of be to them, and where do you think like that messaging, that conditioning comes from?
Wow, yeah. What I've observed is over the past few decades, we've really labeled strongly things. And sometimes that becomes, it's very real. I do want to acknowledge it. And it becomes part of our identity. And so there is a choice in most circumstances to hold on to the disease or the imbalance and and walk around with it. As I hear people say, I am, ADD, I am ADHD, I am full of trauma, I am full of anxiety, I am full of depression. And those are all real things. But there is a choice. Just know that there is a choice in having that be a part of our identity and holding us back from living the most fullest, beautiful, dynamic expression of our life, or a choice to really feel it, be with it, get all of the support, um, and heal it, transform it, and have it become a blessing or a gift, something that we've learned from, something that we've healed from, something that perhaps um, we're able to grow from. Perhaps it's a catalyst to becoming our greatest, best self. Um, so just know that we all are experiencing life in the most fullest expression. And in order to have happiness and bliss and joy, there are periods in our lives of trauma and anxiety and depression and grief. That's part of this experience. This is part of the human experience. And if you can see it as an opportunity to go deeper into yourself and feel it and learn from it. And I have found, because this has been my human experience, that these ancient teachings, they've been around for 5,000 years. Ayurveda is the oldest natural healthcare system on the planet. That when we're able to dive deep into nature, it could be hiking, it could be into sport, it could be art, it could be music, right? Vedic science, Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, breathwork is the path that I found to healing and to happiness and to wholeness. There are other ways. So find something that brings you into a place of being connected to yourself, something that merges your senses into a place where there is stillness in your being. I find that for a lot of people facilitates greater healing and well-being at a pace that is we're able to integrate and transform. I hope those are some good suggestions.
Balance has come up a few times in our conversation so far. What are we talking about when we say balance?
Balance is a place that I would describe as equilibrium, meaning it is not this euphoric, happy, giddy uh, place. It of a high, and it's not a place of struggle and sadness, and I call it like holding your most difficult yoga posture for an extended amount of time, that place where we're just uncomfortable. It is the neutral state of your being where we function, sort of where the mind and the body and the heart are in alignment, and we are in this just alignment and flow of life. Um, it could be called a place of bliss because we're not seeking something outside of ourselves. We're not looking for something outside of ourselves that make us happier. It is a management of the senses in that there are no cravings, or cravings would probably be the best word in this context. We also use the word desires, where there is contentment in oneself and what one has created around them. Yes, we do want to be on a path of being as healthy as we can, but not feverish. Yes, we do want to be in a place of mental health, but without a fever, being feverish, like this chasing something all the time that where we're at is not enough or not good enough, or if we're not well, just being satisfied with that. So there's this equilibrium place of not being a victim of our circumstances of life and not constantly chasing. I can be fitter, I can be smarter, I can be richer, I can be more attractive, I could be. So it's sort of merging these two places and having an experience of where we're at in that moment is my long definition of balance.
I like that. And going back to what we were talking about beforehand in terms of the label that sometimes we associate ourselves with and then becoming our identity. So as you said, I have X chronic disease or X illness. Do you think that that identity and what sounds like that identity and that language that we use, because language is obviously really powerful for our self-talk, etc., would therefore take us out of balance? And how would that show up in not just in our lives, but in like our body? Like how do imbalances show up?
If I am unwell and I am sick, or I am depressed, or I am anxious, or I am anything with that, anything that's unwell, we are putting that into motion. So if I am sick or I am unwell, um, it's better to say something like I am um I am getting well, or I am I saying something, anything that we're saying that's negative, the body is going to hold on to that and it's possible to manifest. Like we have so much, our words are we have so much power. And if the mind and the heart are behind those words, it really charges that situation. So I am perfect health and well-being. So I am radiant health. I am a vibrant health. I am radiant beauty. I am formless form and function. I am youthful. I am my ideal weight. I am a clear mind. I am an open heart. I am graceful. I am compassionate and empathetic. I am patient. So anything that we are not, that we're trying to have, it's nice to put it in the present tense. And so I often hear, but I don't believe it, so, well, say it until you do believe it. And sometimes we need to say it 800 times before we believe it. So just know that yes, what you're experiencing is real. And if you keep identifying with I am depressed, it is going to further perpetuate the cycle of depression. So when we are feeling that, it is great to be fully present with that feeling and feel it and be with it. Is there a message? Is there some note in there? Is there something that we need to learn from? Generally, when we are unwell, we are not in alignment with something. So identify what's out of alignment. I'm in a job I'm not crazy about. I am with a partner that's I know is not the best partner for me. I haven't been exercising and my body's been asking for exercise. My body doesn't want alcohol right now, but I've been doing alcohol, vaping, tobacco, blah blah blah, whatever it is, processed sugars. I know my body doesn't want it, but I'm doing it anyway. So generally speaking, if you do some self inquiry on why you're unwell, 90% of people can come up with what's out of alignment. So if you're not feeling well, try to determine what's out of alignment and see if you can make changes from there. There's also help with dialogue to determine what's out of alignment if you absolutely positively cannot figure it out. But like I said, 9 out of 10 times you can. And if you can't at that moment, try again the next day or the next week. Generally speaking, you know what you're doing that's out of alignment and causing whatever's unwell. Sometimes there are circumstances that we have been in that are out of our control, an accident, a situation. Even those things are opportunities for the soul, the body, the mind, the heart, to do some self inquiry where and see what the note is, what the message is. So when we're able to do that, and if you can't, there's many things that one can do to turn that on if it's not as loud as you need it to be, or to turn it up because it's on. It's just, is it at a lower volume? So those are some thoughts around that.
I like what you said there in terms of like deep down, this kind of how I interpreted it. And deep down, if we're unwell, we kind of know most of the time, at least, or have an inkling into what's kind of potentially causing that by how we're showing up, by our behavior. So if I think back to when I was probably at my lowest and with anxiety, depression, etc., and reflecting on that, it's like, yeah, hated my job, social relationships wasn't great, wasn't eating well, although, I wasn't huge into ultra processed food or anything, but, I wasn't eating as I do now either, right? So I had like imbalances there. Exercise wasn't something even for my body, wasn't exercising, coming from home, because my job was draining me so much from an energy point of view. I just kind of like flake out on the sofa or flake out on my bed. No natural light, when I got home, because my room was very dark, which is then going to aggravate everything as well. And so once I kind of started to, I don't guess, develop the consciousness of kind of all these things that were contributing to how I was unwell, then could start to make gradual changes to change that. So I resonate, and I believe also that on some level, that if we look at actually how we're showing up, our behaviors, etc., we might have, we do kind of know on some level what could be causing some of our pain or symptoms, or basically how we're feeling and how we're showing up. I guess then it's about starting to take the steps towards changing those behaviors. And I think personally, discovering Ayurveda, fell in love with kind of the approach, the holistic health approach and everything. For some, though, I've shared this with friends and family, etc. For some, they do find it overwhelming a little bit because, as you alluded to beforehand, in terms of when we were talking about food, there's time of day to eat, and then when we look into like different dosha types, constitutions, etc., there's different foods for different body types, and it can get a little bit, I think, overwhelming for some people, depending on where they're at in their life and where they're at in their journey, and especially if they're just kind of now starting to trying to make positive changes. So how do you recommend the people that maybe come to your center, or people that you talk to, people that you share Ayurveda with, or just any positive habits, positive changes to help them go from being unwell in whatever shape or form that looks like, to starting to come into more balance? What are some gradual steps or important things that they need to know to kind of just get started with, and not necessarily be overwhelmed by all of the different nuances?
So Try to go to bed as close to 10 p.m. as possible, at least 4 days a week. So be a little bit more structured and disciplined 80% of the time. So 4 days a week, try to get to bed as close to 10 as possible. If you're going to bed at midnight right now, try to make it 11. If you're going to bed at 11 right now, try to make it 10. We ideally want like that screen time, starting to turn off computer, TV, be horizontal, and just try to get calm by 10 and unwind by 10. The reason 10 o'clock is the magical number is the most important time to sleep for your body and your mind is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. This is where the central nervous system and the adrenals are healing and repairing, and all of the organs are rejuvenating. And so 10 to 2 are those hours. So if you're going to bed at midnight, you're missing 50% of that time. So if you're waking up and you're having a lot of anxiety or a lot of exhaustion, or you're on overdrive and you're just like, just functioning like on autopilot, it's because you're not giving yourself that chance to reboot and heal. So trying to sleep between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. 4 nights a week. If you need to get up earlier, that's fine. But 10 to 2 is so sleep is the number one thing. There are, theories on different doshas and how much sleep one should be getting. But as a start, try to be sleeping between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So that's super simplifying it. Eating foods as close to their natural state. So this doesn't need to be really expensive. Grains, organic vegetables and fruits, oatmeals, quinoa, rices, farro, ancient grains, so to make a grain and your veggies, 4 nights a week, just keep your dinner or your lunch simple, especially if you're not a cooker, to make a grain and to saute or roast a veggie is really it's simple, it's affordable. Again, this is a discipline, and discipline is self-love. Discipline means I do the things I don't really want to do because I need to take care of myself, and I do the things I don't really want to do to take care of or love myself. So eating foods closest to their natural state. With that, try to eat enough at breakfast to get to lunch, enough at lunch to get to supper. Try to eat 3 meals. Sometimes that's not always the easiest. And you don't need to eat, a lot of mini meals, just three simple meals, 4 days, 4 days out of the week. I say have a staple in the house like an oatmeal, or something that, makes you feel good for breakfast, and repeat it. So keep things simple, repeat. Same thing, in Ayurveda, we want foods fresh, and the classical ways to eat within 4 hours of cooking. But let's talk, working Ayurveda person. If I make something for dinner, I'm going to make double and have it for lunch the next day. Okay, so you don't need to be in the kitchen so much. We don't want things to go more than 24 hours. So within that period, otherwise food loses its life force energy, its prana. So we want to eat foods closest to their natural state because they're high in prana, life force energy. So if you're feeling unwell with a lot of anxiety and depression and low energy, and just not having like the strength or the passion to make a change, if you're not eating high prana foods, it's going to further perpetuate that cycle. So look at what you're eating and just try to lift it up a bit, and that's going to lift the rest up. So sleep, 10 to 2, foods closest to their natural state, ideally 3 meals a day. Try not to overeat, try not to skip meals. Okay. Moving your body, walking as much as you possibly can. Yeah, great. If you can join a gym, that's icing on the cake. But walking, biking, hiking, moving in your house, there's lots of ways to do that. So just try to move a little bit more. If you're seeing this and you're in your 20s, this is the time to really explore every aspect of life. That is what is for or was for me the most exciting part of this part of life. Try everything, experience everything. Notice how it makes you feel. Notice the people that are doing that. Do they look healthy and vibrant and full of life? And are they creating the life that they love? So if you're in activities where that life force energy, that prana is low, look at the people that are doing that activity or that food or that way of life. And if you're doing, so experience things, notice how they make you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. Notice the people that are doing that. Are they vibrant, high energy, high prana, or low prana? So have that full experience. If you're going to do something that is not in the best interest of your health and well-being, do it with consciousness and awareness. Okay. I'm not recommending doing it, but that's part of experiencing of what we like and we don't like. Jobs, relationships, people, places, foods, beverages, all kinds of things. It's to gather information to determine your personality of what you like, what you want to do, what trajectory, what's your purpose, what are you here for? It all is gathering that sensory experience of determining where we're going. You can get away a lot with a lot in some of us can get away with a lot in our 20s. Others were very sensitive and can't. So just tune into that. If you're in your 30s, hopefully you have determined what experiences work for you and what don't. And hopefully the experiences that don't work for you are less than the experiences that do work for you. Gather, cultivate, create experiences that feed your soul, that sing to your heart, that are healthy for your mind, and then your body responds in perfect health. So have experiences, live life to its fullest. Health and well-being is this full experience. We don't want to squeeze things out like, oh, I can't be up with my sweetie until 11 because I have to be in bed by 10 when you only have that hour. Loving relationships and connections. If you're having a one-off bad meal, for those of us that are on the other end of the spectrum, that everything needs to be perfect in order to feel perfect. Have a meal with, that might not be the most perfect, healthiest, but do it in good company. If you're going to have, a beverage, do it with love and in good company, in the right place, at the right time, in the right amount. Don't squeeze out life because you have to be in the gym. Don't miss out on things either. Find this balance of loving and kindness and acceptance and gentleness with yourself and relationships, and not being too rigid, right? Because there's these two things of not having any discipline or structure, or being too disciplined that we become rigid, and I don't feel good unless I'm in the gym 2 hours a day, or so we don't want to go, or I can't eat gluten, unless you have celiac disease, or I can't, or you're abstaining from something. Try not to have such tight, rigid rules. If you have good digestion, you should be able to eat all kinds of foods in right quantity, right quality, right time. So I'm also encouraging those that that we're not feverish in the other direction of everything needs to be in such perfect order for me to feel good. Because there's that situation I see a lot in when we get around our 30s. We kind of did some things that we knew maybe we shouldn't have, and now it's like we've swung the pendulum in the other direction. So we don't want to be so feverish. We don't want to be so not caring about what we're doing. So you know, by the time we're in our mid 30s and we want to be in this balance of the pendulum, we don't want this swings. These swings are generally uncomfortable. So we're trying to find our ideal way, what foods work for us, what activities, what types of people, social circles, what types of relationships and partners. So sure, we're still going to get an occasional swing, but make it occasional. Let it come back to that equilibrium, that balance, you know. So just that holistic approach of wellness for both sides of the spectrum.
I like that because I think there's sometimes, especially in health, we can get very dogmatic, I think might be the right kind of word, and so it's either, or no, maybe not dogmatic, but like in extremes, and I think actually one part of the podcast that I'm trying to do here is actually find some sort of truth and consensus, right? So it's not like always trying to be perfect. And then you mentioned it beforehand. I think it's very much in the West. We're always trying to optimize, right, and seek like the next thing. I might go for a run and hit my personal best, and then so I got to do my next personal best tomorrow. It's just like actually, sure, those moments might give us a high moment, and that they're good. I'm not saying they're not good, but actually, as we're kind of saying here, most of life I feel is actually played in this balance, in this kind of, yeah, balance ultimately. And I think a lot of times we try to push the extremes. What does Ayurveda say about purpose? Because a lot of what I've discovered or read about and conversations I've had with Ayurveda very much focuses on um, nutrition actually, and then a little bit of movement, etc. And I haven't dived a lot more, or haven't really dived into purpose. So what does Ayurveda say about purpose, and why is that important?
Purpose as far as the purpose that we're here, our
Yeah,
purpose
yeah.
in life. Okay. Yeah, so that's funny. I was cleaning out my mother's basement with my sister over the weekend, and my sister found this box of all of this artwork from grammar school, and she was jazzed to go through it. So I was just observing her go through it, and she had found something of what my purpose is. Like, what is my purpose? What do I want to do? I must have been maybe, I don't know, sixth grade or something, at 10 years old. And it was a picture of a nurse. And on the bottom of it, it was to help people. I did not have the discipline in my 20s to be a nurse. Ironically, my sister is a nurse. Um, uh, and I became an Ayurveda practitioner, and director of a wellness center. And so I think I am doing my purpose of helping people find tools to heal, to have more autonomy and knowledge to heal themselves. So I thought that was funny. And I tried 8 million jobs in my 20s. Tried to go through to different schools to learn different things. I tried to go through different jobs to try things on and see what fits and what doesn't. So I think that's part of unveiling a purpose. If you're sitting here like, I don't know what my purpose is. Some people, it's inherent in their being and they know, but I think it takes for most of us a little bit of time, and that's that exploring. trying different jobs, trying different cities or states or, regions or countries, trying different things you're interested in, different hobbies, to uncover the purpose and what sings to your soul, what sings to your heart, what is not work. When you're in a job, or you're making money, or you're serving others, or you're able to do all three, and you enjoy it, it's not work, right? It becomes more service, or it brings you joy to do it every day. That is an unveiling or uncovering your purpose of what your role in to have the best human experience and to create your dynamic expression that touches other people in some way, that you're teaching or inspiring or empowering or helping or serving or feeding or whatever, however you're touching. It's different for everyone. Bringing joy to someone's ears, bringing joy to someone's palate, bringing beauty to someone's eyes. Like, there's so many expressions, and I haven't even covered a touch. So, what makes you happy? Expand on that. And what feels heavy? What feels like work? What is not bringing your soul joy? And there's a process for some people, like I said, connect and click to it. I did not. I had to try so many expressions, so many different things and so many different expressions before I got my feet on the path that I wanted to be in. And I felt like such a failure because I had friends that had their feet on their paths, or so they thought, or so they said. And I was like, I tried so many different things, and I would quit or resign or know that it wasn't for me because there not 1 inch of the experience created any joy in any part of my being. So for some of us to find that purpose, that might be part of the experience. And that's good, because then we're determining what doesn't work for us, right? So if that's your experience, just keep trying. Don't compare yourself to others. I have walked a very untraditional path that my family could not understand, that there wasn't support or encouragement from my tribe I was born into. But I had this inner compass, and I had a connection to a higher power. And I didn't care what people said or thought about me. And I mean, I'm in, such in a mature stage of that expression. And I am incredibly satisfied and content. And those words sounded terrible to me at one stage of my life: discipline, routine, contentment. Like, those were the last things I wanted. I really liked that excitement. I've lived in different countries, I've done different things. And so, again, those things are part of the experience. A word I'd like to bring to your awareness is sustainable. Is what you're doing sustainable? And just notice that it might be sustainable, for a period you're in or a phase you're in. But things that we want, that I suggest, things that we want to create, um, generally, the more sustainable they are with your soul, with your being, and with the planet, tend to have the happiest tales, the happiest, jet stream, the happiest things that tend to evolve it to an expression that you can't even imagine. But know that there's different phases of your purpose that continue to grow and evolve as you continue to grow and evolve and contribute. It is sometimes incredibly challenging to determine, but once your feet are in the direction of where your soul wants you to go, there is this most beautiful alignment, and like things and people and experiences just tend to show up when you're in that alignment, that there's not this such a push or struggle. It's like, wow, can you believe it? Oh my goodness, and then there'll be times where your purpose there it can go in two directions. And if you're in alignment, either direction you choose is going to continue to get you on that path, one way or another. Some of us need a diversion of coming off the path to gain a lesson or an experience or share something with someone or something to get back on the path. So just have trust and be in your heart.
What would you say to someone who doesn't believe what you've just said? Who doesn't believe that if they stick on this path or a path, that they will find their purpose? That actually life is hard, right? Life, I don't have a purpose, because I think, like, for me, one thing that I've learned is actually, and you used the word trust. I feel there needs to be that some level of just kind of deep trust or faith that actually, um, that oftentimes people realize that when it does come from like this kind of sense of higher power, and they feel kind of into vibrations, emotions, feelings of like gratitude or love, or these kind of higher states of being. But there are also those that actually just don't believe that, right? And so what would your words of wisdom or uh, advice or kind of thoughts, or like, what would you share with them to help them to actually start to question their perspective on what we're talking about here?
Ooh, that's so good. I have a couple answers. When I was a teenager, my father died suddenly. And I felt like God owed me. I believe in a higher power. You can call it God, you can call it whatever you want. God is an acronym for governing, organizing, destroying. So higher power, let's say. So I had that connection with something bigger than myself, a higher order. But at that time, I felt I was owed. I felt like I should have been the captain of the field hockey team without working hard. I felt like I should have passed tests without studying. I felt like I should have gotten the cute boyfriend because the world took something away from me, and I was owed. And then about 4 years after that, where I was very lost and did not have any guidance outside of myself, um, I ha- I had a message that my self gave me, and the message was, you got a bad deal, but no one owes you anything. You need to work just as hard or harder to get what you want and to go where you want to in this life. So if you don't believe, or you know, keep going, keep trying different things. You're here. You're not here to suffer. You're not here to be unhappy. If you are, it's your choices. Make better choices, figure it out. What's going to make you happy? You're in charge. No one else is governing your experience other than you. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be unwell? And if you want to be unwell, then keep doing what you're doing in the way that you're doing it. And if you want to be different or happier, take some steps to try different things, meet different people, do something slightly different. It doesn't even need to be radical or huge. Just take a step, a little baby step in doing something slightly different than what you're doing right now. Because if you're not happy, what you're doing is not working. And you do have the power and the choice. We're here to be our happiest, healthiest, most whole self. And part of being on this earth is figuring that out. And like I said, some people have parents that give them the manual and all the tools to do that. And it may appear easier. And for others of us, we don't have the manual, we don't have any guidance, we don't have a clue. Just figure it out. Like that's part of why you're here, is to figure this out. Keep going, keep trying different things, do something different, believe in yourself, try to. Or if you don't have that belief in yourself, just somehow connect to your heart, somehow connect to the earth, somehow connect in, all right, universe, help me figure this out. What is it? And see if some messages or some people or a little thing that you might like just, comes across your way. Or maybe you're driving in the car and you get this message like, stop here, or start doing knitting. I don't know, like, just try to find something that brings you joy. The simplest thing. Find some joy and your soul will align and some things will become easier. I really believe that. Um, and easier is relative. For some of us, we've chosen that the way we learn is through difficulties, through overcoming obstacles and challenges. For some of us, that's how our soul needs to grow. It's not going to, and for others of us, we grow by taking care of and serving others. For some of us, we grow by finding what brings our heart the most joy, and we do that. So we all have different ways of navigating in this dimension. So think about that. Think about.
And I guess that's where some of the practices that we spoke about beforehand in terms of yoga or meditation, breath work, etc., could aid us in this journey. I found meditation and using that as one example to be a very helpful practice with that, what I call of like going within, like if I have a big um, challenge or something or just something on my mind, just that art of destimulating from the outside world and devices and everything to go within and quiet my mind and just kind of notice, and notice if there are any signs, and just try to develop that consciousness and awareness. Would you agree that some of these practices that we've spoken about beforehand, coming back around full circle, can actually help us in this process?
Yeah, they bring you back to that neutral point where you are able to make decisions from a higher place. So if you have a lot going on in your mind and it's moving in at a speed of like 800 miles an hour, a lot of kilometers, okay? And you're making decisions from here. They tend to be like these kinds of more decisions. But if you can do what you just mentioned, and you could even if it, meditation is the space in between thoughts, and that could be less than 1 second. It could be 3 seconds. Don't think you can't meditate. Everyone's mind is like this. Meditation is the pause in between the thoughts. So it doesn't matter how long it is. If you're able to drop the thoughts and the mind comes back to that neutral point, is where you are making this, you are having insights and thoughts and making decisions from a higher place of your being, from an all knowing, all loving place that's higher than the mind. All right. If your physical body is just a little bit out of kilter, moving it through yoga can restore the health, the vitality. It clears the subtle channels so that your life force energy that resides in the lower centers rises, so that instead of making choices from the base, the dense place of your being, you're making choices from higher consciousness and awareness and breath work, right? So if you need more movement, choose yoga. If you need more control over your mind because you have no control, you can do yoga and or meditation. Breath work is an incredible way of um, of really raising life force energy and really balancing the elements in your being. So if you're not sure which one you should choose, try them all, try everything, and see what makes you feel good, what your being is like. Yeah, this is it. To get to that neutral place in your being, so that fear and anxiety and survival are not speaking, but that your soul, your higher consciousness and awareness are able to start speaking, creating, governing, or helping, aiding in this process, could work. So yes, yoga, meditation, pranayama. And with that, if you go to a yoga class and you don't care for it, try a different style, a different type of yoga. If you like that type of yoga, but you didn't like the class, try a different teacher. Same thing with meditation. If you were like, heck no, I'm not doing that technique. There are many different types of techniques. There's a menu. Choose what technique, like you're so like, just, oh, I want to try that. If that doesn't work, try another one. Also, some things may work for a period of time. Oh, I really like this yoga. And then you don't. It's not that you don't like yoga, maybe it's a different type. Or this meditation I really like, and then you don't. Maybe it's another meditation. Same thing with the breathing. You may got what you may have received what you needed from that, and it's time, for something different. Or there's a lot of power in sticking with one thing even when it doesn't feel good anymore, to work through and with that, because sometimes there's another adjustment or another level. So just explore and play with things that speak to your soul, that connect you with your heart, that calm you with your mind. And these things are pretty available. You don't need a big budget also to do these things. So there's a lot of things that are by gift or by donation or for a small fee. So if something in this realm feels cost prohibitive, keep looking, because there's people that want to share this with you, that don't need a whole lot of money. So just keep trying different things to find something that does work. There's no failure in trying different things. If something doesn't work, just leave it and try something else. There's nothing wrong with that.
What's one thing that we haven't discussed today that you want to share with our audience and listenership and those who are watching the podcast today?
You got this. You got this life. It's a gift. Um, you're going to have all of the experiences. I know we touched upon that. but having all of those experiences of all those things is part of a rich and rewarding life. Don't let, don't let, um, don't let these things hold you back, hold you down, prevent you from being the full dynamic expression of a life you can create and um, the reason that you're here. You got this. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. That's a great way to end our time together today. I've learned a lot. I've been exploring Ayurveda over the last probably 6 months or so, and yeah, I've added to my knowledge bank. Let's call it, for our conversation today, and I hope that, and I'm sure that our audience and our listenership as well have learned about not just more about Ayurveda, but also about how they have more power over their choices, um, and life ultimately, and can harness that power to create the life that they want and be their best self. So thank you for your time today, Kim. Where can people go if they want to learn more about yourself, if they are in the area as well, to check out your center, to book onto a class or book a retreat? Where's the best place that they can go to learn more about you, connect with you, but also the center as well?
Yeah, you can find me at aolrc.org. That's artoflivingretreatcenter.org. And I'm easy to find there, and would love to share more. And Luke, I had no idea the direction that this was going to go. And thank you for your amazing work and this amazing podcast and sharing and doing the work that you're doing. You're clearly an example of someone alignment with their soul's purpose. So it's such a pleasure to know you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Means a lot. Thank you. I hope that you've enjoyed my conversation in this episode with Kimberly Rossi, as we have been talking about and discussing the timeless practice of Ayurveda, on how this ancient wisdom can bring us back to a state of balance, and why balance is so important. We've also discussed purpose in great detail from the perspective of Ayurveda and how we can live more purposeful, meaningful lives. All of the links and mentions from this episode are in the show notes below. Please do check them out, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.